Welcome back, everybody, to Culz Interviews. Today, we're going to go in a few different topics, but definitely talk about some crystal skulls. And luckily, our guest today, Joshua Shapiro, has quite a bit of knowledge to share with us. So I'll turn it over to him, let him introduce himself, and then we'll get started.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you, Keegan and Andrew, for having me on the show. Um, all my life, I think I've been kind of like a researcher. I want to know the truth about everything. Typical Aries person with that fire, like, um, I'm going to check into everything. I don't care what other people think. A lot of family members probably think I'm totally crazy or whatever. But I've had some spiritual experiences that show me that our future is bright, that we're going to be very connected with our spiritual aspect. And, so I'm just an individual trying to do what I can to share whatever information I have. I have what I call the voice that speaks to me. What this voice is, I don't know if it's my higher self, if it's the galactic beings I work with. Well, when I say these things, it gives people a little idea of the things I work on. But it's been very active, and it's been telling me things to do. So what I'm working on right now, which again, I'll give people a feel for it, is I have a new video series that I started myself. So now I have to learn how to make online videos. So I've made some mistakes. It's called 2023, the year the full truth begins to be revealed. This was the message I received in January. And then this week I got, hey, Josh, get all your free ebooks out. Don't wait for people to ask for them and give you your email. Just make them available because big stuff is coming and people need this information. So, so I would just say, so we can get into your questions. If people ask me, who are you, Joshua? I'm a Crystal Skull Paranormal Explorer, and I'm a co-founder of a spiritual center called the Center for the Advancement of Humanity, which we're waiting for the new financial system to come in, and that's where we'll get our funding so we can build centers all over the world. So I'm already, see myself walking in one, even though it's only energetic and online. So I'll get into that more. So, but I've been, mostly people know me as a Crystal Skull Explorer. I've been involved since 1983 when I saw my first one. And I just know that they they are keys for world peace for the future. And the only way to explain that is you guys are going to ask me really good, tough, challenging questions.
I hope
So,
so.
right. So, and I'm an author and public speaker, and I just do whatever I can to share the best information. I let people decide, what they think. So, but it's an amazing journey, and you never know what's going to happen and who you're going to meet. And every time I do these kind of shows, there are new people that show up, and that's really a cool thing because it's time for the family of humanity to come together and create an amazing planet of peace and harmony. And we're headed in that direction. So hopefully, after you ask me your questions, then people have a better feel for why I absolutely know and believe it, and nobody can talk me out of it. Okay, guys, I'm turning it back to you.
Hey, no worries. I like listening to it. You kind of mentioned like the crystal skulls before. Was it crystal skulls themselves that got you on this path, or were you on this path and then crystal skulls sped it up?
No, I was already on this path. I started in the early 1980s. I had some spiritual experiences when I was in Chicago after I got out of college. So this in my early 20s because I'm 68 now. And then the crystal skulls just came up while I was traveling on faith. I wasn't expecting it. I really hadn't studied it. But when I met my first one, which is amethyst crystal skull, and I'm trying to think if I have one of my books here. Unfortunately, I'm not that prepared where it is. Otherwise, I'd show you a picture of it. It's known as a me. When I saw that one, then it started from the picture, the skull starts speaking to me before I even met it in person, because I've met it in person a couple of times. And it said, we're returning to help create world peace. So Joshua, now that you know, what are you going to do about it? So obviously here I am, 40 years later, and I'm doing something about it. So I'm writing about it and sharing and helping to create events, conferences, world peace meditations. The whole point of who I am is I get inspired with an idea to do something, and if I see how to do it, I just do it. And you always learn something, and you meet people, and it's like now I get to meet you guys because our good buddy set this up so we could do that. So the crystal skulls just showed up and started talking to me through the picture of it. And I think the other reason why was I knew I had to do this is because before I was born, I made a promise that I would help in this. And so when this skull came up, it was kind of like bringing back that memory and that knowingness, because then all of a sudden there were things that I just knew that I didn't even study. Okay. And that's soul knowledge, soul wisdom. And so a lot of what I share with people about crystal skulls, it comes from that, from past lives, other lives, or working with them, or things they've told me. So that should take you to the next question. What do you mean they told you things?
Yeah, let's go there. What kind of stuff have they been like? Because I know in some of the other stuff I've listened to you talk about they're passing along messages and stuff. So do you want to tell the viewers what kind of messages they're trying to help pass along?
Okay, so first let's explain how I understand how is this possible? Because if you talk to a regular person, what do you mean you're speaking to this rock? I don't care that it looks like a human bone skull. What do you mean you're talking to it? So my understanding is even the shape of our bone skull, because we're receiving information and knowledge all the time, and I think it has to do with that shape, and it's coming in on other levels of consciousness. So the way I would explain that the skulls are talking to people, and I'm not the only one that's saying this. I mean, my wife Katrina has this, and there's other people write to me and say, "Oh yeah, the skull gave me this name, and it's explaining to me this is how it's going to help me," and so on. There's a living consciousness that has the ability to work through these skulls. Now, part of it has to do with a lot of them are made from quartz crystal, and quartz crystal itself is a receiver and transmitter of various frequencies of vibration. But also, I'm assuming your listeners are all on their own spiritual path for the most part. um, we know that there is other aspects of ourselves, our spiritual part, our etheric part, whatever you want to call it. And so in these other dimensions is intelligences. And, the whole point of everything is we're all one. We're all children of God. We're all interconnected. And if we work together, and this is why there's going to be world peace on this planet, because we're moving in that direction now. All these little children being born, they're already awake. All of us older folks, now I don't know if you guys think you're older or not, but let's say 40s or higher, we we are really activated. We've had our experiences, we've gone through our tests and challenges. And so these loving extended spiritual family that we have, they say, oh, we could work through the skulls because they look like a person, and maybe we could pass messages, or energy too is important too. Sometimes you don't get a message, you get the energy. Like, for example, there's this one guy chasing me on Facebook who has these pieces that have extraterrestrials on them found in Mexico. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say, hey, what do you feel with the energy around it? Because that's what really affects the people the most with the skulls. It's not so much the message, it's more the energy. Like I've tried to figure out for myself, how did I go from this um, Aries that's going after people and bothering and getting air and upset and angry, like when I'm younger. But now it's like, everything's fine. I'm not here, even in this conversation we're having, I'm not here to try to convince anyone that what I'm talking about with crystal skulls is going to be right for them or not, or anything else that I talk about. I'm pretty much in the neutral and calm. And the only thing I could figure out is when I had the experience with the most famous crystal skull, the Mitchell Hedges skull, when I got to go to the Guardian's home, Bill Holman, and had 20 minutes with it, something shifted inside of me. I became a different person. And that's why I think I'm more calm and peaceful. So, even though I'm very excited about this new center I want to create, I don't feel myself like pressured and going crazy. I'm willing to be patient and wait till it's God's time when it manifests and all the resources come in, and then I find the right people to help, all these spiritual people. So what I'm trying to say is with the skulls, it's a contact with other intelligences. They see this as a door or a portal into our world. And depending upon who the person is and what spiritual gifts they're using, they'll work with those spiritual gifts and they'll start communicating or send energy or whatever. So I go with the message I receive from the amethyst skull of me. They're here to help to bring peace. And what they're doing right now, or what they have been doing since I got started, is they're activating the people around them who are ready. Because it's like they are mirrors. They see who we are, and then they send back based on our energy what we're ready for. And I know that's true because every time I see one of these very old skulls that are very charged with energy, I have a completely different experience because it changed me and now I'm a different person. Okay, so then I have a different experience. So that's my understanding of it, and that's its purpose, is to be a catalyst to mirror back to the person around it, to the guardian, who they are, what they're capable of, or give them a healing. So sometimes the person may go through, where they don't feel good or something. It's because they're releasing energies that no longer serve them. I don't know if this makes sense to you guys, but that's how I understand it. So there's an intelligence, and there's even one skull, and I like talking about this one. For me, it's like right here. It's over my left shoulder, but it's up in the air. But if you were here, you'd say, well, there's nothing there. What are you talking about? Energetically, that skull, that's where it appears to me all the time. And I wrote an entire book about it, like 400 pages. It's called The Blue Skull. That's the name it gave to me. And it showed up when I was looking for it in the northern part of Peru. Okay. But that skull's always there. It's really powerful. And it says, I'm not coming. I'll decide. Okay. Nobody's going to find me. I'm in another dimension. This is what it's told me. So again, I could be totally nuts or insane, but when it's my right time to come into your world, then I will do so. And nobody will have to say anything because the energy of this skull, it will attract or will draw people for healing or to activate their spiritual gifts or whatever. So I have a skull and I see it in my mind's eye very clearly, and it will come into my right hand, and I'll say, you want to experience the energy of this? Okay, it sits and I can feel weight on my right hand, and people will actually experience. I had some people when I did that got blown away. Now, this is just something that came to me, and I just go with it. That's the whole point about life. If there's one message that I could give every one of your listeners, okay, and I'm very enthused and excited about this, you have to be yourself. And when these crazy things come up to you for work for you to do for the planet or a new project or whatever, you have nothing to lose. Just go with it. See where it takes you. It's an adventure. It's a journey. And so I always do that. So my journey for the last few years has been, well, we don't want you going out so much because, right now the world out there is really crazy. We got forest fires going on. Who knows what they're putting up in the sky? We have an undeclared war that's going on right now between the light and the dark, which is very clear that it's happening. So I haven't felt, to be so active outwardly, but online, I've been doing interviews like this, creating new ebooks, making all kinds of crazy posts on Facebook. We have a Telegram channel for the center. So, I just keep thinking about what else can I do? What other information can I share with people? So I think my exposure to the crystal skulls, that what it did is it energized me and helped me to become more of my true self and trust in my gifts and trust when I get my own intuitive feeling or messages or I'm hearing I'm supposed to tell you the message I got from God. Okay, now there's no way to prove this is from God, but I just know it's true. So here's my story. So right now we're near Orlando, Florida, but we used to live close to Atlanta. So when we were in Atlanta, I'm just sitting by my computer one day and I'm thinking, what does God or creator receive from each of us? I mean, we are so tiny compared to the infinity of the universe. How could creator receive something? And I got an answer immediately. Why, it's your experiences, of course. Now think about that before I tell you what my understanding of it is. Our unique experiences is what creator receives from each of us, right? So it means there's no right or wrong. It means every time we go through an experience, we grow because we learn about life and ourselves. If we make a mistake, well, you can try it again, right? If you make a mistake, it's not about right or wrong. It's just about experience, growing, and learning. So through our experiences, Creator receives. Because even if, and I know this is true, there are parallel earths, parallel universes, other aspects of ourselves. The person that we are now is totally unique unless God does what they did in the Matrix movie where he recreates everything again, or she, you have to say he, she, not he. If creator creates everything again, then we could come back. But there's only one of us right now that's unique. So it means through us, we will have unique experiences. Now, if there's a parallel Joshua, parallel Keegan, parallel Andrew, there's going to be certain aspects of their lives where they're going to make a different choice. So they're going to have different experiences. Maybe a lot is the same, but they're going to do other things, right? And so that was the main message. So that means that everything that happens to us, whether we think it's good or bad, or we're happy with it or we're not happy, it's an experience to learn about life. Okay. So don't get so hard on yourself. All right. And creator has infinite love and infinite patience. And, creator, the only thing creator can receive from us is those experiences because creator already knows everything. Anything we can imagine, creator already knows it. Right. So I gave you a lot of answers there on a simple question. Sorry about that.
Something that I've been wanting to ask related to the crystal skulls is I think a lot of people, at least younger generation, maybe only know about them because of the Indiana Jones movie.
Let's see if it's going to get cut out here.
There
Yes,
we
go ahead.
go. But at the end of it, Indiana is like, the treasure was knowledge, and that kind of sounds like that's not too far off base, right?
Well, the Indiana Jones, of course, they took the crystal skull and they put it into a negative light. Um, but they did say certain things in the movie that were actually true, that really, which I immediately recognized because either I know that information or I've experienced that information. But yes, I agree. There is great wisdom and knowledge that's connected with the skulls. And, the key is you have to be able to get in energetically connected to them. Like the one I was showing you here, it's called Portal de Luz. Okay, I'm trying to see where he won't fade out. So I guess here is okay. Portal of Light, that's in Portuguese or Spanish. And you see my hands are shaking because he's like, 12 pounds, not 12 pounds, 10 pounds, 11 pounds. And I'm just not that strong anymore at 68. So, and he won't make himself light. Sometimes he makes himself light. Anyway, he was made by a modern Brazilian carver. And, you won't tell me what to say, right? Let me do it myself. Okay, sometimes he makes suggestions, which I hear telepathically. So I just hear it in my mind's voice. I got off your question. So what else was there about the Indiana Jones film? There's intelligence, energy, changing your life, could create a new pattern for you. You know, you,
Yeah.
you meet a skull and all of a sudden new opportunities and experiences come up, or you go through a tremendous healing and you get rid of some emotional pain or mental pain or karmic pain. it just depends. Now, the other thing, I have somebody over here just said something, so I have to go with it. The other thing you have to be aware of with crystal skulls, now it sounds like from me, I've had a lot of positive experiences with them, but they're recording the vibrational frequencies around them. And there are civilizations probably like some Mayan civilization, Aztec or whatever, who did human sacrifices with this skull. So that skull is going to pick up man's inhumanity to man. Okay. So they don't per se, unless it's a very old advanced skull made by an advanced civilization or gifted by the gods or the galactics, um, they, you know, they may not always have positive energy. They may have picked up man's inhumanity to man. And actually, when I went to Mexico and was participating at a crystal skull conference, there was somebody who did bring a crystal skull like that. And normally, I don't like to ask for help with healing, but I had no choice. It was so dark. I didn't protect myself enough. So it can have either energy, but what I believe is they were originally gifted by advanced civilizations or galactic civilizations as a tool to assist humanity in our spiritual unfoldment and evolution. So that was their original purpose. And then, like everything else that we do, humanity goes in different directions and says, oh, this is a power tool, I'll just use it selfishly for myself. That's not ultimately what their purpose is. They're basically, what they tell me is that we want to help humanity get back on track so that you have peace and harmony. And once you do, then you don't need us anymore. Then you'll be fine, because we'll be very connected with our higher aspect of ourselves and beings who are connected to the higher aspect of themselves. So, and I've had two personal experiences where I've seen this future that's coming, which I actually spoke about in this video series I told you I'm doing. In the introduction, I said, how do I know that there's going to be total peace on the earth? Well, I had these two experiences and I explained them. So it was a coma experience I had, and then is an ongoing experience I have now, as crazy as this may sound, where myself in this lifetime in the future, 2037 to 2040, with a different name, Argus, is able to show me kind of like what that future is, because he's living in, because on the level of spirit, there is no time and space. But at the same time, he can't tell me how do we go from where we are here to there, because then I don't become him. So I have to, it's the same as Creator said to me, you have to go through your own experience and learn and grow. But eventually one day I'll wake up and say, hey, I'm Argus. I'm the one who's been talking to my past self. And by that time I should be consciously aware of that communication, but coming from the other side. So it's going to be really weird. But, that's two things. So yes, they're information devices. I mean, if they're recording everything that's going on around them energetically and you link in, you can get great wisdom and knowledge from very advanced civilizations that worked with them.
Yeah, and how would like somebody be able to tell like a real one from like a bogus crystal skull? Because I know we've traveled a lot in the southwestern United States from Mexico, and there's quite a few ones that I'm sure aren't real down there. I mean, I know they're not because they're selling them for like really cheap money, but how can a person tell the real one from, one just made for profit?
Okay, so first of all, they're all real. They're all crystal skulls. The thing is, what you're really asking, the real question you're asking me is, how can you tell if it's one of these very old ones that worked with these higher level of civilizations, like maybe in Atlantis, Lemuria, were gifted by galactics? How can you tell? It's energy. It's the energy and the feel of it. You can't tell anymore by how they're carved or shaped. Although some of the older ones, if you have a high-powered microscope, you're not going to see any tool marks whatsoever on them, which means they either were created with a more advanced tool like a laser, or there's some rumors and stories that some skulls were created directly through the power of the mind, which is where we're headed, by the way, in this new heaven and new earth. We're going to start being able to do things with the power of our mind. We're going to have access to our gifts. So right now, the way it works is you get an idea in your mind and you start working toward it, and it seems like things are going faster. Like you have an idea of something, and then all of a sudden it's like you just start doing it and you see what happens. So like, for me, the latest one is this video series, and making all these ebooks I have totally available with a link where you definitely get access to it. Unfortunately, it's a complicated link, so if he asks me how to get it, I'll have to give an email for people to write to me, and then I can either send it to them via an email, or if it's one of the 2 free ebooks I have that are too big for forwarding via email, I'll give them the link that I have for it. So at some point you should ask me what they're about. They're pretty interesting. It's not just crystal skulls.
Yeah, I mean, we can go into that now if you want to discuss them a
Okay,
little bit
so
more.
I'll do the Aries thing and say it fast, and then I'll come back and say, a little bit. So we have free ebook on crystal skulls. Tartaria. What's Tartaria? You have to come back to that one. Flat Earth or a geocentric model of the Earth. Messages from Argus talk about those 2 experiences that I told you that I had. I have another one which comes from talking to Gene Decode. I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but he's quite popular as a whistleblower. He seems to like me, so I've been able to interview him for a time. He inspired me, so I did a book like What's Really Happening Behind the Scenes. And then I also have another book on are we in a computer simulation? Because there's a high probability that's probably true as well. And then the other ebook I've done is this 2023 message I received in January that the truth's going to start coming out. I started posting on Facebook. It had to do with Tartaria and geocentric model or flat Earth. So I almost have that one ready. I'm finishing it up. I mean, everybody got the post that I made, but now I put it into an ebook. So that one is kind of like a shorter version, but it's to try to show people that we haven't been told the truth about our history, and we definitely have not been told the truth about what's behind me, because I know after all the studies I've done with geocentric or flat Earth or whatever you want to call it, there's too many incompatibilities and things that don't make sense that we're living on a globe. I don't believe it. As a matter of fact, the last thing I was working on, as unbelievable as this sounds, but S.G. Anand, who's one of the other whistleblowers that's talking about things going on, I just heard him talk about this and agree. The world as we know it, we don't know all the land that there is. And it's not about what's under the water. I'm talking about beyond the known map that they've given us. There's other land that exists. And I have no idea how much of it is or whatever, but it is connected to the geocentric model. So it would mean there would be a dome for us, and then outside of that dome is more people with more continents in their dome, and possibly another dome. So I don't know how that would work. But there was one book that was put out. It was first an article in a magazine in Florida where a ship actually went beyond the known world, and they came to a continent. And this is what I always dread when I do the interviews. My memory is what gets hit at 68. I can't remember the name of the book, but it's in this one that I'm doing now. And they had a name for it, but these people were not on our map. They were on another continent or another island or another landmass that was outside of it, but they knew about us, and there were quite a few people from our world that were living with them, and they had different laws and rules, much more peaceful. So this person went there and he wrote about it when he came back. So it's very interesting. So that's what these books are about, but it's trying to bring forward what's the truth, because there's another book I have from another person that's basically saying everything we've been taught is a lie. They didn't tell us the truth at all. And this is what's starting to come out now. Okay. Is the truth about everything. And the reason that I'm writing all of this is my main concern is not with people like us who are studying and open to it and ready for it, so ready for the new earth, okay, and peace and dancing and singing in the streets, which is what I see us doing and just creating unbelievable things. So just know this is where we're headed for sure. But when the truth starts coming out, both the light and the dark, I see all this stuff now. I have to explain, how do I recognize what I'm telling you is true? Because in this coma experience I had when I lived in Las Vegas in 1990, when a van struck me from behind, okay, and I heard a loud screech, but I always think I'm protected, so I didn't even turn around. Now that saved me. Spirit told me that saved you, because if you would have seen this van coming to strike you, your subconscious would have go, oh no, I'm either going to be dead or I'm going to be, have an injury for the rest of my life. I didn't have that. I mean, I had some signs that I was struck, that I heard I was flown up into the air into a gravel area, but I left before the van struck me. I remember it. My vision went from white to dark. I was taken out of my body. So this is the reason why I'm here talking to you. Okay, because I don't really think I had it. Anyway, I went to a meeting. That was the whole point of the coma experience. I was at a meeting um, in a higher dimension, I guess, with all these different beings. I don't remember all of it. But I do remember when I was coming back and I begged them, please, I saw everything. I saw our future, what's going to happen. I, I, Let me tell people. I have so much information to tell. No, sorry, you can't talk about it. However, we will tell you this. When it becomes your present moment, this is our present moment, and you see stuff, you will know what's true and what is not true because you already saw it here. A whistleblower came out. Now, of course, we already know, if you're aware, you already know that there has to be other life. I mean, creator's not going to just say, okay, this one planet, I like this planet, so I'll just put life there and I don't want to have life anywhere else. No, that doesn't follow the message I got. Message I got is I want to experience everything, every conceivable possibility. Okay, so that's how I know. And plus also, well, I don't know, should I say this? Yeah, they said it's okay. Who am I really? George Hunt Williamson, an early UFO contactee who wrote books in the 50s. I had one time where I talked to him via letter. I really resonated with what he wrote. I'm what's called a cosmic wanderer. Cosmic wanderer is the soul goes from planet to planet to lift it to the light. How do I know that? Because when I've done the private sessions, hopefully, Andrew, you will say something and have some questions, not to put you on the spot. When I do these private sessions, I look in people's eyes and I can tell if they're what we call either star nation, star seed, star person, you know. So definitely, Kagan, you're a star person, and so are you, Andrew. That's why, Andrew, you have a lot of trouble dealing with things on the earth. Okay, that's the only message I'm allowed to say at this time. I get messages sometimes. So I'm supposed to ask permission, but I think since you guys are asking me questions, I could sneak a little in.
Yeah,
Okay,
you can just send it right out. Absolutely.
okay, I'm not here to embarrass anyone, but so as a cosmic wanderer, it means that I have a lot of connection with a lot of galactic races. So for our center, for example, on this side of me, when I talk about it, is Pleiadian, and on this side is Arcturian. So they tell me, so I'm going to say this publicly. So when our center gets formed, if any of you have heard this interview and you remember when we start saying, oh yeah, the Center for the Advancement of Humanity, we have a place here in Florida and we have a place in England or wherever you go, you can bring it up. They tell me that we're going to do joint presentations and that they're going to give us information which we're going to have to kind of translate so the regular person can understand their wisdom and knowledge. But it's definitely, you may see an activity. I don't know how soon this will start happening, but I've seen it where a human and a galactic are speaking together. And the reason for that is because so people aren't totally afraid. Hey, if that guy, I like that guy, and he's okay with this galactic, then it's okay. I should just listen and see what happens. Okay, so, but what was your question related to UFOs? Is disclosure going to happen, or?
I was just thinking because you were talking about like, 2023 being the year, and then you brought up a whistleblower, and that's what brought me back to the whistleblower in the news lately about the UFO debris and stuff, or crafts,
Right,
I should say.
right.
And I just was thinking because there's been a lot of like other whistleblowers, I guess we can call them, that say the government will use like the UFO to kind of like scare people, so it won't actually be true UFOs. It'll be
We're coming at this from two directions. So first, if I'm a spokesperson for the Palladian and the Arcturian, they love us, they want to help us. But it's like the rule in Star Trek, you have the free will. You can't just come down here, and say, okay, we're going to fix everything. Okay, but that's not what's going on, because obviously there's people, probably people we don't know, that are working on, hidden projects, who have relationship with the loving spiritual galactics. Then we have the elite who have relationships with the not so nice ones, which, people say grays, the reptilians, whatever. But the thing is, and I have to see if I'm allowed to say this. Nobody's stopping me, so I'm going to say it. If I get in trouble, I get in trouble. It's God's will, okay, that this planet is going to see peace. And nothing can stop this. If Creator decides this, nothing can stop it. But he can't just, she could do that. And that's how fast everything could change. But we still have to be involved in the co-creation of this. Okay. So it's the same thing when we work with the positive galactics. They're helping us. But Carrie Cassidy said an interesting point that I will repeat, but I'm giving her credit for this. She said, because she gets to talk to a lot of whistleblowers, I don't. Okay, I have to go with my intuition and just regular people I talk to. But she said the positive galactics have watched these not so nice ones. I'm trying to do it diplomatically here, okay? Because what they're doing is not so nice, okay? We've had a lot of problems. They've created a lot of problems, and they've interfered in our natural spiritual evolution on this planet, okay? And so what I'm saying is, if these not so nice galactics, if they go too far, and most of the people say, no, we're not going to follow this anymore, then the positive galactics, angels, I don't know who. I mean, we also have very advanced beings that live underneath the ground too, which, some people say is connected to the hollow earth. I'm not sure how the hollow earth yet totally fits with the geocentric, but there's something under the ground for sure. Very advanced people could be descendants from Atlantis or Lemuria. I'm positive of that they're there. So they could also come in and intercede on our behalf, because this is their home too. But the thing is, and the challenge that we have right now, is that we have so many different levels of people on their uh, spiritual growth and awakening and being awake, and this normally doesn't happen for other worlds. Okay, other worlds, when they're going to graduate, because we're heading towards 5D, I believe, everybody's ready and it just goes smoothly. But Mother Earth has has allowed beings from many different levels to come here. Okay, because first of all, on our world, how many different religions do we have? How many different spiritual philosophies do we have? How many different cultures? A lot. And I think for a lot of the galactics, I like to call them galactics, we're amazing, because how do we still survive with all these differences that we have on this one planet? Okay. So but I believe that both of these sides that I'm talking about have a plan. So from the elite, they're going to use Project Bluebeam, and they're going to stage a fake alien invasion. Okay. And I've had several people I've met in my travels, even 20, 30 years ago, talking about this, that eventually that would happen. That's how sophisticated that their equipment is. But whether this will happen or not, or will the positive ones come in, I don't know. This is probably why a lot of galactics are watching what happens here, because there are not very many places in the entire universe where such variety and such um, exchanges and transformation and changes that are going on right now, and so many different perceptions of reality in one place. So we're, kind of, we're entertaining for them in a way, and I don't think that they even know what's going to happen. So, when I tell you I see this positive future, I still don't know what's going to happen. But what I do know is for this year, and I think it's going to be connected to UFO disclosure, a major, major event is going to happen. Now, disclosure means nothing unless those who disclose have absolute evidence and proof that our cosmic brothers and sisters really do exist, or if they decide to show up and publicly be seen. Now, of course, there are a lot of people, because we have these movie cameras with our cell phones, and I've seen some video from people where they've actually seen some of these aliens walking around on the earth. And it's kind of really strange. So the first one that probably would come out, I think, will be the Pleiadians. This is what I sense, because even though they're taller than us and their light is very bright, they still kind of look like us. And I'm assuming too that in our DNA we have DNA from many galactics, including the Pleiadians. But there'll be other races. And for the children of the future, it will be perfectly normal to go outside and see galactics walking around you. You will not come from fear or panic or whatever, you know. And then eventually our planet will be part of a federation of planets, and we'll be able to go visit them. They'll bring their knowledge and information here. And so the future of this world is extremely bright. Think when I'm talking to whoever this voice is that I'm talking to, and I'm trying to give suggestions as a human being, how can we take us to the next level? I keep getting the response or the answer is the galactics, or the UFO disclosure. It's going to come from this way. It's like we're ready for this. Okay. And it seems almost like both sides are talking about this now. Okay. So I think it's going to come from that place. Now, if the positive ones show up because of, again, their energy that they're going to broadcast, you're not going to be afraid of them. You're going to feel totally peaceful. I like them. I can feel how nice they are. That's the energy they're going to put out. If it's galactics that don't put that energy out, then right away they're up to no good. But I think what's happening now is that positive galactics, and they call them the white hats and the alliance, these people that are working to bring peace to the earth. And plus the planet is going day by day higher and higher into a higher frequency. They're leaving. They can't stay here. It's not working for them anymore. They had a lot of bases under the ground, and it's being cleaned out. So I think that this year something major could come up around UFOs. And so, if it does, you have to, excuse me, ask yourself the question, how do I feel about this? It's like Tartaria. There's evidence for the existence of Tartaria like only 200 years ago, but the elite totally wiped it out. We didn't learn anything about Tartaria in our history books. And yet there are still buildings from Tartaria. Now that I know about it, every time I go into a big city, I saw them. St. Augustine, which is here in Florida, which is close to where our my wife's family has a condo, is one of the oldest cities in North America. So I start looking around downtown. Sure enough, they have a star fort out there, and they have buildings in the very center that have the antennas used for the free energy that the Tartarians used. So I already saw that it was there. So it's very interesting. So all of the truth is starting to come out now on all the levels. You can't hide from it, and you can't hide from yourself. If there's something that is not in balance, the energy of the earth is going to force you to face it to get more balance or to release that which no longer works for you. So that's not to say I'm totally in balance. If you talk to my wife, she'll say, Joshua doesn't take good care of himself and he should be doing this more. Of course, she's Capricorn and I'm Aries. So, you know, we see things differently, but she still says I'm a good guy. So that's the most important. She doesn't like everything I do and approve. I can't do anything. That's who I am. That's me. So I like being myself and I try to make the best of it. And you guys give me the opportunity to do one of the things I know I agreed before I was born, which is, you know, to talk about the information and share it in different forms. So I've done so many of these kind of conversations. I'm very comfortable with it. I don't even think about it. It's like I'm just getting to meet two brothers here. You know, I'm not even thinking about that. There's other people who are going to be watching this. Well, I hope you do, because I'd like you to get some of these free ebooks and take a look at this video series and maybe, you know, check out our center that we're building. Because if the center goes the way I want, I'm going to have young people working there, and they cannot work for the center unless they know exactly what makes their heart sing. So if they know what makes their heart sing, that means everybody that's working there is going to be singing and dancing and happy. And all the people that come in for our services will not want to leave. So that's my plan. Of course, I'll get my guitar out and start doing my songs too, you know. That's one of my gifts in this lifetime is I write songs on the guitar and I ad lib. You know, I just make it up. So I know I was a musician in the past. Plus, that's my dream. I'm going to take the song. It's called the Crystal Skull theme song. And I'm going to get other musicians and I'm going to conduct it. And it's going to blow people away because there's melodies in there I cannot sing. Okay, so I need the help of other musicians. I did play this song at a Crystal Skull conference in Holland, and the end part of it, we sing "We Are One Family." Okay, I got everyone in the room to sing "We Are One Family." Another guy took a picture of the ceiling. There were orbs all over the ceiling. I had to drop my guitar at the end with my microphone and just go out and sing to the audience. And a Siberian, I don't know, medicine woman who part of her rituals is with voice and sound. She even came up to me and said, I like your song. It was very special. So, and it's, you know, it's just the melodies came to me. And also I had I don't know if this is true or not, but one of my parents in a past life was a famous classical composer. So he told me in spirit when I was working, he said, I helped you with that part. Okay. And then he showed me who I was in a past life too. That part I'm not going to say this time, but I'm pretty sure I know who I was, a Baroque composer. And I actually went to his graveside and I met his descendants. So I'll just say Germany. Germany's where he's buried. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, a little Easter egg for the audience. But hey, we do know some musicians ourselves, so maybe we can help you out with getting some.
Well,
people.
I'm sure as soon as the center gets going, I'm going to do something with that, because when we have the center, it means money is no longer an issue. It means whatever project we want to do, we're going to be able to do it. Okay, which in a way, we already have the prosperity of the universe, but this will be a physical manifestation of it. So this is part of the transformation we're going through, because where Argus is, they don't need fiat currency or physical currency. And there may not even be digital currency by that time, because everything may be barter and exchange or for free. Okay. But, you know, you can't go from one extreme to another. We have to go through a process. So first we'll go through where there will be a new currency. They're calling them rainbow currencies that you can hold and touch. And then there'll be a digital currency through the quantum financial system, if you've heard about that. So that's supposedly already in place and already paralleling everything that happens. So it means If the current system goes down because we got banks failing all over the place now, your money will be saved because it's been duplicated on the new system. See, there's so much going on right now. That's why I have to do these videos. And they're only an hour and a half each. And I still probably have about 8 or 10 to do. Well, I got some positive feedback from people who said, I'm waiting for the next one. So the next one, I already know it's going to be what I call my break one, where I'm going to go out of the pattern I've been doing, and I'm just going to show like graphic images and talk about them that have profound messages or certain things going on, especially related to UFOs. Since it's coming up, it's ahead of where I want to talk about it, but I need to talk about it. So things like that. So any other questions you'd like to ask me? I'm waiting for the hard ones.
The hard ones. Well, I know one because you keep talking about alternate dimensions and realities and past lives. Like, so obviously we've done some ghost hunting stuff on the channel before. How much of that do you think is a spirit, or how much of that is a alternate dimension where you're talking to maybe that person, but an alternate form of that person? Like, what do you think on that?
Okay, so I got to ask you a question to make sure I understand what you're asking me. Okay, so let's say, for example, my father passed away. I want to talk to him. So he's not in physical form. So are you asking me about any spirit? Because there's a difference between someone who's in heaven and in another dimension in spirit and a ghost. A ghost isn't there. They can't get out of their connection to this reality. I think you're asking me about on the level of spirit, right?
Yeah, because I was just thinking, how much of the time when people are communicating with something, maybe they're just communicating with another dimension when they think they're communicating with that spirit, perhaps.
Well, this is a very difficult question to answer because there are so many levels to it. On the highest level, we're all one. We're a unique note in God's infinite symphony, let's say. So when we have a conversation with spirit, we're talking to another aspect of ourself. Okay, that's the highest truth. But because we're in this reality where we see everything as separate. So in other words, you're my spiritual brother, he's my spiritual brother, but yet I'm not you. So I don't have any idea because we haven't talked that much. Like, what are all of your experiences? I can only cheat and energetically get a feeling like, what's going on, but I don't have the sensing of what you experience, because in this reality, really, to grow and learn, you need to be focused on kind of what you're doing until we get to this next level where we're one humanity, and then things will be much different. Okay, probably for children, they're ahead of us because a lot of advanced souls are being born right now. Like through my wife Katrina, she has this granddaughter, Sathan, and she's one of these advanced kids, and she drives me crazy. Another Aries, of course. But, got to play with her, got to challenge her, got to help her, because I know she's advanced, how she behaves and what she does. She's ahead of her age. But anyway, when you're talking with spirit, it's going to communicate with you by which of your spiritual gifts are your strongest. So for me, it's either going to be on a feeling level, or I'm going to telepathically hear. Okay, my vision's not that good. Okay, there have been 2 times where I think my third eye got activated, because when my eyes are closed, I see total darkness. But on those 2 occasions, I'm watching scenes and I can't go to sleep because I can't make it dark. It's like, visions are things. Now, in my mind's eye, I see things like that coma experience. I have a vision in my mind's eye of being in this room with all these beings and seeing we're looking in the front and we're watching, like a movie of what's going to go on the earth and the whole thing. But I can't see it in detail. I cannot see it in color. It's all grayscale to me. Okay, because that's not my gift. My highest gift is feeling or hearing. Okay, so if I'm going to have a communication with spirit, the spirit will announce itself on a feeling level. So, oh, I got tingles all over my body. Who's there? Okay, or I'm going to hear a message like when I think God spoke to me and said, it's your experiences, of course. All right. So the key is what I understand from people who have more direct contact with the galactics is they say they talk through telepathy all the time and distance means nothing. So like, for example, my father has passed away, but if I think about him, I feel connection with him. Okay. And I kind of get a sense, are you having fun, Dad, in heaven? You know, because you were so afraid to die. Is it okay? And I get a response back. Now, I either trust that response or I don't trust that response. Okay. But it can be a form of communication. Now, when we get on the level of spirit, there's no time and space. So we can be in simultaneous places all at once. So the concept that there are parallel Earths would um, kind of jive with that idea that we have these other aspects of ourselves that are having different experiences, but it's still part of the same soul. Okay, with the soul being kind of the divine spark from Creator. Okay, and can you have a conversation with your higher self and your soul? Yes. So that could be true. So the problem is for us to have this communication, spirit knows it has to be done in a way we can understand it. So it's going to do it like it's a person, an individual. But one time where I was with the Mitchell Hedges girl, I don't know what the heck was in the room with me. It was not an individual soul. It was something I do not fully understand. It seemed like it was whatever. It knew everything about me. And this is part of the reason why I went through this transformation, I think, because it showed up. But I cannot claim that I fully understand what that was. Okay, because it's not like anything I experienced on the earth. So I think what spirit does is they can read our vibrational frequency and energy. When I've talked to mediums and I ask the spirit, how do you see us? I see you as light. They don't see us in the physical, they see us as light. And based on the light they see, they know what we understand, what we know, who we are. So, spirit's just going to give you what makes sense, because if sometimes if spirit showed us their true self, we could go crazy. I don't understand it. I don't get that. That's too much. I can't deal with it. Okay. And this is kind of what I'm concerned about with these truths coming out. There's going to be a lot of people say, there's no way. There's no way this could be true. There's no way that person was doing all this terrible stuff. I can't believe it. I can't believe we don't live on a globe. That's not, I can't believe that, we're not going to have spaceship traveling in outer space. I'm not sure that's really the way that it is. It may be a different reality, possibly. Um, so all that's going to start coming up. So that's why and I'm saying all of us, I'm not just including myself, I'm including both of you. That's kind of probably why, yeah, that's why you're doing your show, is that you chose to be here to help to bring forward all this great stuff that's going to start coming out. Okay. And you haven't, well, okay, I'll just say this. I don't want to get into it. You haven't even begun to see what knowledge and information you have inside of yourselves. Okay, something is going to happen where all of a sudden, I didn't know I know that. Oh, this knowledge, information, it's getting ready to come out of you too. Okay, so it's not just asking questions of other people who have big mouths like I do, where you just keep talking. You have your own wisdom and knowledge, which you're going to start to talk about in your own projects, in your own way to share with people when all these changes start coming. So this is something you both agreed to do also, but you'll have your own way of doing it. Okay. For me, I'm going to do something with music too. That's how I'm going to reach people. Okay. Because it's inside of me. All right. And I just have to express it somehow. And I haven't figured out yet what's going to be the best way to do it. So right now I just work with talking and writing. Okay. But eventually I'll come back to do something with music. I have to. Every time I listen to the right song, I'm moving my body and I'm dancing, and I'm moving my body and dancing with my little 2-year-old granddaughter, playing with her. Because that's the other thing. We have the child inside. We have to express it. So I hope people feel like, when I'm talking about these things, it's really I'm letting my child come out. That's the excitement and so on. So that's how I see spirit, that, it can be on many different levels, many different dimensions. The other thing about spirit is it's not physical. It's vibrational, energetic. Okay. But where my father is, he has a body. Okay. But it's not the physical body we have here. It's a different body because the laws of where he is different than here. The vibration is different than here. Okay. So I can just feel like a part of me is able to touch that reality, and then I find him. But it's on a feeling level. It's on a feeling level. So, because that's my strongest gift. It's always been my strongest gift. Now, whether I'm very emotional or not, no, generally I'm more peaceful and calm. Although I do get angry sometimes, so I wouldn't be a good Aries if I didn't. But angry, maybe not angry, loud. Get loud. But not when I'm doing these things. These things, it's for me, it's just to share, and hopefully I'll sneak in my best Jewish joke before we end too, just to have fun and joy and all that. That's the whole key. Whatever you're here to do, if you're not having fun doing it, it's not what you're here to do. Okay, so it's obvious I'm here to talk and share information, whatever way I can. And over my 40 years of doing it, I'm waiting for people to ask me tough questions, because I've already heard all these sick questions you're asking me before. I don't even have to think about it. The answer just comes out. So I'm waiting for the tough question. But don't worry, these are all good questions. Everything happens in divine perfection.
Because it's hard. It's hard when we do intros to really kind of divert. There's always like a almost a pathway to do like introduction ones. But before I completely hijack it and don't let Andrew speak at all, Andrew, do you have any thoughts or ideas you want to talk about?
I do actually. So I'm actually the skeptic of the group. You just had so much to talk about, and I just wanted to listen to it. But there was a lot of things that I resonated with, and then there was things that just threw me off, and I do have questions and stuff like that. So you're talking about the aliens and things like that, and how they have their own way of doing things, and so you were talking about how the creator we're here to learn through the experiences that we have, which is a feeling that I have as well. But what about these aliens? What is the purpose of the aliens? I mean, they were created for some other reason.
No,
same reason.
See, the thing I've always looked for, Andrew, is there a simple philosophy that no matter where you come from, no matter where you are in your spiritual evolution, that explains everything? And what it is the oneness of all things. Okay, that creator wants to experience everything, gives free will to creation to have those experiences, does not judge, and through those experiences receives from us whatever it is we learn. And that's the simplicity of it. So when we meet another human being, when we meet an alien, they have their own life to live. They know what is their path, what's the best way for them to go. And just like you also said too, not everything you agreed with. I don't expect everyone to agree with me. I say this like in the video, I'm saying it in the ebook that I'm preparing. I don't expect you're going to agree with all the things I'm sharing, but I feel it's my job to bring forward this information, and you decide what works for you.
And that's why I asked the questions. I'm got an open mind here for sure. Right. I'm just trying to learn, trying to grow my experiences and knowledge. And so basically what I'm getting here is that there's organization. He's got things organized in certain ways, and that's how it, like, for instance, Earth is chaotic, right? And these other places are well organized, and so he wants to see what happens from chaos, what happens from organization and things like that.
Every conceivable possibility, because there's something learned. Now, here's another thing I learned from a UFO book a long time ago, Secrets of the UFO by Carla Ruckert and Ed Elkins. They were interviewing people who were receiving telepathic communications from galactics. And one of the galactics said, "What's the difference between the light and the dark?" Well, the light is service to others and the dark is service to self, right? But it's the same thing. It's just the other side of the coin. So in other words, both are difficult paths. If you want to follow a path in your spiritual evolution service to others, there's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make along the way. There are a lot of things that you were taught by your earth family that you find out don't work. They're not the truth and you have to give them up. On the other side, if you're totally selfish, that's a very difficult path to follow too, because you're not helping anybody else. Everything is just for yourself. And I think even here on this planet with all the chaos we have, that path is impossible. It's not possible for any person. Now, I could be wrong. There could be some people that are totally dark, but I think that they can't do it 100%. They're going to help their family. They're going to do something that helps some other people. Okay, they're not just going to stand alone by themselves and like do nothing for anyone else. Even the elite, when I listen to them talk, they're always talking about their family. They're only going to do it for their family. Well, that's still other people. That's still other people. So really it's free will choice. And the other thing is, which is the key, is that, you should embrace when new opportunities come up, even if you think you can't do them. Why not go for them? Because the bottom line is the following. What's the worst case scenario if you try something and it doesn't work? You stay the same, right? Nothing changed. What's the best case scenario? If something amazing and wonderful happens, it's fantastic and great. You wouldn't give it up for the world. So the thing that I think the elite try to do is they try to stop people from their creativity and that they're willing to try these new experiences. No, you have to follow this path. It's a path of destruction. Everything they do is about poisoning us. That's their whole goal. But when you say, okay, something has been shared with me, I'll go for it. Let's see what happens. And something amazing can come out of it. So that's always my approach is, like I start sharing, let's say there's free ebooks and there's different people who start to receive them that didn't receive them before. Well, these are new people who may reach out to me, or we may do some projects together, or maybe I have some other information for. So I don't know. It's an adventure. I got the message from Spirit to do this, and I'm just going with it. The only problem with it is it takes a lot of time. I have to go back through all these ebooks and update them and make sure they have the right information and get it into the right format, put it on the right website. So it takes time. I'm editing this one book. It's taking me almost the entire week. But the bottom line is once you're done, once you're done and release it, then it's done. Then it's for whoever's supposed to receive that. So it's trying to live by a way of life as simple as possible without making problems for yourself. Because I think a lot of times, like, if we get into arguments with people and try to say, hey, you should do this or that, you're asking for problems rather than just say, well, do I have your permission? I'll tell you what I think. No, I don't want to hear it. Okay, then I won't say anything. It's the same thing like what we're doing here. You're asking me questions. You're giving me permission to share, what experiences I've had, what I've learned. And then I'm asking you back at certain times something you don't ask me. Say, I'd really like to say this. Is it all right? So, so it's flowing this way. So it's mutual respect. So this is what our planet needs. We need to have mutual respect for everyone else that lives here without trying to change them to be something that they're not, and to help each other when we can. There was a group in California I met very early on when I started traveling on faith in my late 20s. What was it called? Geez, I forget all these things. The concept was, is that you only focus on the areas you have in common with other people. And the difference is you just say, okay, I agree to disagree. So like, for example, let's say, you really are into the crystal skull. We're going to do a project with crystal skulls, but about UFOs, no, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't know what I think about that. Then I'm not going to try to force you, because I need volunteers or help on that project, for you to do something that doesn't resonate for you. That's why I said when we do the center, you better believe everybody in there is going to be dancing and singing and happy, because I'm going to bring them in for what they love to do. And what they love to do, they're an expert in. Okay. And so that I already know the center will be absolutely successful unless nobody wants to work there. Okay. If I don't have anybody to help me, that's the only thing that could stop it. But I doubt that that will be true, especially when I go after young people who already are on their spiritual path and are looking for some way to express themselves. This may be the perfect place for them to work, gain experience, and get inspired to do their projects, and then they may go on to do something else. So I don't know. So I hope that answers your question.
Mhm.
Anything else that you wanted to ask, Andrew?
No, like I said, you just had so much to say, and I really enjoy listening and hearing what you do have to say.
Right. Well, that's good, because I say this a lot. So, you never know if you say the similar things over, you go, I hope people like what I'm talking about. I
And
also try to be spontaneous too when I do this, because I find when I'm spontaneous, like, these ideas are just coming to me. I'm just going with them. It's usually because either the people interviewing me or the people listening, somebody, I'm able to provide some key that they've been looking for. I'm able to put some pieces together for them. Okay, because this is what I'm always doing. If I research something new, I'm going to talk to other people who are experts in it so I can kind of get the feel and understanding for it. Like when I got into Tartaria, I heard about it, but I didn't know about it. But once this one person did a video and said, look at these buildings. Do you think people in the 1600s could create these amazing cathedrals and churches and office buildings that we're using now, that they had the technology to do, and the amazing carvings inside and geometric patterns they put inside, which really reflect, it's called this science of cymatics, where you create sound and it creates geometric patterns. Like, don't tell anyone I told you this, but a lot of the lights we see in the sky, they're not suns and other systems. They're lights in the sky underneath the dome that are functioning with cymatic energies. How do I know that? Because people with what is it, 125 zoom lens look at the lights and they don't see them being planets and suns. They see them colorful, changing color, in motion, kind of like the cymatic patterns I'm talking about. So I'm planting seeds, because this is the kind of truth that I think is going to start coming out. And some of the things that I'm talking about, some people have never heard before. And they go, how could anybody believe these things? Okay, they never taught us this in school. It's not possible. Just remember, anything we can imagine, we can only imagine it because it already exists somewhere in Creator's infinite universe. There's nothing new we can imagine. It already exists. So anyway, that's what Spirit told me. And I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So even if I try to be original, come up with a new idea, I'm sorry. If it comes to you, it's coming because it already exists. But I can still have fun with it, right? Oh, yes, of
Right.
course. Of course. So I
Well,
have these conversations with the voice all the time.
so we've talked about, a lot of things, but what are some perhaps like other pretty important like sacred objects or relics that are around that maybe people can learn more about or need to know more about?
Well, of course, to the indigenous people, some of the sacred skulls are considered very religious or sacred objects. But I think what it is that there have been a lot of advanced civilizations that lived on the earth. even older than Tartaria, like Atlantis or whatever. So they've had these objects that have been energetically charged. So the only personal example I can give is Dr. Brown's Atlantean crystal ball. Okay, I don't know if you heard that story or not. Probably should just tell it really fast. So anyway, there's this man named Dr. Brown. He worked with Jacques Vallée, and he would go with him to the underwater, places where they would look for things. And they were like in the Bimini area, I guess, or Bermuda area, and there was a storm. And they know when a storm hits, it will show you really what's at the bottom that's been covered up. So he went down there, with scuba gear and everything, and he saw a golden pyramid. And he figured out his way how to get inside of it. Obviously, it was an Atlantean pyramid. And he found this room very high with like this ruby sticking from a gold pole in the ceiling, and a table with high chairs. And in the center was like these hands holding a crystal ball. So a voice said to him, "Take the crystal ball, but never come back here again." Okay. So, because he wanted some proof that he actually saw this. So all he had the ability to do was take the ball. So he took the ball back, and then he started showing it to people, and it had a tremendous amount of energy around it. And it was like similar to some of the old skulls, where some people would get energized and healed, and some people would have problem with the energy. It was because it wasn't being worked with, I think, in the proper way. I don't think anybody who had the ball fully understood how to use it. Okay. They probably had a special room, other sacred artifacts with it, other crystals, who knows what else was around that ball. And it's being removed from this place to come out into our world, which, as you said, is very chaotic. So there was another gentleman who eventually got the ball. And my wife, Katrina, and I, we went to the Keys, the last island all the way out. There was a spiritual center. He brought the ball there. Of course, we bought crystal skulls wanting to meet the ball. And the owner knew we had those. So he said, "No, I don't want anything around it to interfere with this energy. I want to keep it pure. So you can't bring the skulls there." So I'll admit, because the ball self-destructed some years later and doesn't exist anymore. So I can admit this now. I had a crystal skull in my pocket when this guardian put the ball in my hand. There was one in my pocket. But anyway, I held this ball, and I was curious to see how am I going to feel the energy of this, because I think this is a sacred artifact versus the skulls I'm working with. And so what I sensed was it was a programmed object. In other words, a very advanced civilization who made this, they programmed it, but it wasn't a living consciousness like I experienced with the skull, but it was still powerful. Okay. And then after the ball was taken out of my hand, and I still feel this hand it was placed in, it's still there. Even though it's been destroyed now, I still have its essence. I can call it forth in my right hand. And I passed that energy to a few other people when I was traveling and showed it to them. So what we were able to do is there was a water that the guardian placed the ball in, and we were able to get that water before they got rid of it, and we put the skulls in the water. So I think that's how they were able to, whatever it was, to receive. I had a vision when the ball was in my hand of a past life where I was with Katrina, but there was also a child there, and we're too old to have children. So I don't know who that child was, but I definitely saw a child there. And I think it was in Atlantis. So I know that a lot of the indigenous people have these sacred artifacts that they guard, and they have to do that because people that work with the elite, they would come in and take them and totally misuse them. So a lot of these artifacts are either guarded by spiritual groups, maybe even the galactics might teleport them off the planet if they're in danger, or in the case of like this crystal ball, when it was being misused, it shattered by itself, just exploded because it wasn't being used properly. So it self-destructed. But I think that from working with the skulls, these kind of sacred objects have very strong protective energy shields around them. So either if somebody comes that's going to misuse them, they'll make themselves appear invisible to that person. Like I think the Mitchell Hedges skull could do that. So these are just tools that humanity has used in the past to help us in our spiritual evolution. But I believe we're going into a time where we will not need those tools because we have direct connection to spirit ourselves. So these are just tools that helped us to grow and to learn. So that's all I could say about, a sacred object. I don't get to really see that many of them because most are either in a museum or they're in private hands.
And like guardians' hands and stuff. I listened to a couple of your episodes where you talked about that. And, I listened to the Mayan one that you have on your channel recently. So that was pretty interesting about the Mayan calendar and just how it's not really ending like kind of was
No, it's not ending in 2012.
Yeah,
it's a new beginning.
Yeah.
That's what I had a Mayan priest that I was working with. That's what he kept saying. No, it didn't end. It's a new beginning. It's a new beginning, which is really what's happening now. What I felt happened in 2012 when we were all doing the meditation is something got set up in a different dimensional level. And since that time, December 2012, it's been coming down here more and more and touching people. So we initiated a lot of things that didn't physically manifest, but boy, oh boy, it's starting to manifest now. So it's this transformation that's been prophesized for the planet. So it's really happening now. It's like every day now there's something going on, and, according to my future self Argus, by 2037, 2040, everything is totally imbalanced, in harmony. All these dreams we have, it's happening, it's normal. And it's not that far away. It's like less than 15 years possibly. Mm-hmm. So it just means everything's going to start going really fast. But I still think it's going to be a UFO related incident that's going to be bringing forth this explosion and opening and awareness, and it cannot be stopped. It's for awakening the planet, and I don't know what it's going to be. I'm going to be as surprised as everyone else. I just want to see if the elite try using Project Bloombeam to fake an alien invasion.
Yeah, no, and I want to say thank you for joining us. I know our time's coming up here, but I know before we end it off, obviously we want you to tell the viewers where they can find your stuff, but also you wanted to deliver a message as well as a joke. So if you want to do all that now.
Okay, I'll try to do that as fast as I can. Okay, so for the free ebooks, which I'm putting out with direct links, it's just easier for you to email me. Okay, just say, are you interested in Tartaria, Flat Earth? What's going on behind the scenes? What Argus had to say, crystal skulls? Are we in a computer simulation? So any of those type of things. Just email me, crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com. That's the easiest way. Our website on Crystal Skulls is CSE, like Crystal Skull Explorers, CSE.crystalskullexplorers, plural.com. So CSE.crystalskullexplorers.com. So that's our website. So you could, find our free ebook on the crystal skulls there, or again, just email me. And the same thing too, if you want to know about this video series I'm doing for the center, 2023, the year the full truth begins to be revealed. It's on Rumble. So email me and I'll send you the links for that. And that's what I'm the most proud of right now, is that video series, because I think some good information is coming out. As far as positive things, I'll leave you with this. Spirit gave this to me. So there's a very simple thing we could each do for 5 minutes in the morning, or 10 minutes, and 5 or 10 minutes in the evening. And that's do a meditation. But the key in the meditation is is think in your mind, what would the world be like for you if we had total peace and harmony? You know, how would it look like? So I have some visions of that I see, and I hold those visions. So you do that every day. And then what Spirit said is one day you'll wake up and you look around and you go, my God, that world that I've been seeing for the last year with my meditation, it's all around me now. It's here. It's finally here. The concept or the idea of this is that we, through our consciousness, we can co-create whatever it is that we want. This is another gift that Creator has given to all of us. Now, in this world, I know it's a little more difficult because it takes time for things to manifest. But it's like the 100th monkey effect, which Ken Keyes wrote about, I think it was in the 70s, where when enough monkeys on these islands in Japan learned how to clean the sweet potatoes, they all knew how to clean the sweet potatoes. So enough of us have the vision of peace. The next instant, when the next person starts doing this, all of a sudden the world would shift and we would have total peace and harmony here. That's how powerful that we are. And and even if it still takes time for this to happen, every time you think about this world and everything, you're sending out a positive energy. You know, like sometimes I go to a movie and, I'm thinking, uh, how's who I am and my energy and frequency changing and affecting the people around me who don't even know what's going on that level. So that's why I'm saying if you do things on the inner levels, it affects every level. Okay. Or the other thing would be, like I'm doing here, I'm trying to share with everyone key things that are coming out right now. Maybe that's part of what you'll do with your family and friends. Certain family and friends would be open and you just feel inspired. Ask permission. What do you think about this? Or I saw the Star Trek show where this happened. What do you think about this? And you start a conversation and you plant a seed or a message. We're all messengers. I mean, my father wasn't a spiritual person, but he brought me some of the best books. He just found these books for me and they had amazing information inside of them. So that's what I'll leave. So then, okay, so you know how to contact me. That's how I see we can all help to create a positive future. So now I'll leave you with my best Jewish joke. So I have to do a Jewish accent too, of course. So there's a father, there's a priest, and there's a rabbi. And they're having this discussion about how each of them decides what part of the money they receive from their congregation they keep and what do they give to God. So the father says, well, what I do is I draw a line in the ground. I take all the money, throw it up in the air. Whatever lands on one side I keep, the other side I give to God. Priest says, I do something similar, except I draw a circle in the ground, and whatever lands inside I keep, outside I give to God. Now, I was brought up Jewish. Shapiro is definitely a Jewish name. And so, I had to be bar mitzvahed. I had to deal with rabbis and the whole thing. So this is how rabbis are. I've even had some people say I look like a rabbi sometimes, especially when my beard is longer and my hair is longer. And the thing about rabbis is they don't answer you right away. They're always stroking their beard and they're thinking. So this rabbi is doing the same thing to the father and the priest. He doesn't answer them. He's stroking his beard and he's going, what, you guys? I think you're doing it all wrong. What you should do is take all the money you have, throw it up into the air, and let God take what he wants. So that's the Jewish humor.
Brilliant. Love it.
So you guys, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure. I've missed doing this. I haven't done an interview like this for a long time. Just doing it yourself, it's just sharing information. Okay, but to talk with other people and do an interview. Oh, well, that's not true. I did interview my friend who had 5 near-death experiences. So we talked about that for a little bit. So that's another video. We have, besides this video series on our Rumble channel for the center, we have other people. We have, of course, Gene Decode. We have an interview with him. Super Soldier, we interviewed a couple of people with contact with Galactics. So we have different interviews on our channel. So make sure you ask me to, if you contact me about the Rumble video channel. So there's some good interviews on there too. I only have one complaint one time that I spoke too much and I didn't give my guest chance to speak. It's hard sometimes when you have some information you want to share, but it's because this lady I talked to, everybody loves her, and up to that point, very few people were able to see her live. So somehow she agreed to do it with me. So, but she wasn't talking enough, so I felt like I had to fill it in. So I don't know, maybe you guys will ask me about that later and see if that's true, if I talk too much, because really everybody has something important to share.
Absolutely. And I feel like the whole point of this would be to hear what you have to say. So,
right. So Keegan, why are you wearing a Seattle Seahawks hat? Are you from Seattle?
So my dad used to work part-time in Seattle, and we live in Colorado, but we'd always end up going to Seattle games. So
Okay,
when I was younger, I didn't know much different.
Okay, we lived in Seattle for about 6 years or something, so I know the Seahawks I was there when they won their Super Bowl.
Okay.
And I was there when they lost the next one where they got cheated on. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure and honor. And to your audience, you need to come back and listen to who these guys are talking about. They're really good. It was so easy to be interviewed by you. Okay, so I'm sure other guests are having the same enjoyable experience. So that encouraged them to talk more. So you definitely need to come back and hear these either their past interviews or their future interviews, or whenever they have me back, we'll see where we are at that point. Wait, Portal Deleuze wants to say something too. I love you guys. I love you guys. Okay. That's all I could hold. No, he really loves you guys. So if you ever come to Florida and you want an opportunity, to sit with our skulls, you're always welcome.
You said St. Augustine?
No, we're closer to Orlando.
Orlando now. Okay.
Yeah. No, St. Augustine is where we have this condo. Family has a condo that's about an hour and a half from here.
Okay.
So we get to go to the beach periodically, although there's a beach that's free 30 minutes from here too. So we've gone there as well. So yeah. It's really good, that negative ions from the waters. You need that. So, all right. I know we don't want to say goodbye, but we have to.
So we hope you enjoyed this interview with Joshua Shapiro about crystal skulls and a little bit of everything else. Make sure to go to the description below to find links to all his stuff if you are interested in hearing more. But until next time, for more Culz interviews, click that link to your left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, what was your favorite part of this interview? Tell us in the comments below.